Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/theobservernj. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 28th day of October in the year 2025. For the second time in 2 weeks, the mute button was clicked to the on position. I don't know why, and I apologize to you for that. So we're a little bit of a delay there, me talking to myself for a little while. But I appreciate everybody joining us today, as you do each and every Tuesday. You know, we were just talking about how in Jamaica, the conditions are just absolutely horrible right now. So certainly pray for the people of Jamaica that they make it through this. But boy, it's 185 miles an hour right now are some of the winds in Kingston. So some of those resorts and the people who live there are just going to get pummeled in the next couple of days and hours. So we think of them, and hopefully everybody will get through the hell that is there right now. Now, as you do each and every Tuesday, you welcome me into your homes so that I can bring you this week's news. But before I do that with the newspaper, there's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about that happened over the last few days. And the first one involves an arrest that the Kearny Police Department made just yesterday. Now, you've heard me talk about license plate readers and how effective a crime-fighting tool they really are. But we've talked about it a lot about Lyndhurst because they have them at all the entrances to the township. But it turns out that there are a lot of them in the town of Kearny as well. And yesterday afternoon, a little bit after 4:20, the Kearny Police Department was alerted to a stolen vehicle that was in town. So, to make a long story short, Sergeant Ryan Stickno wound up pulling over the vehicle, and of course, the guy who was in the car that was stolen didn't want to get out. You're going to find out why in just a minute. And when Ryan tried to get him out of the vehicle, he resisted, and he started fighting with the sergeant. If you don't know Ryan Stickno, you don't know that he is an excellent rugby player and played in college. Him and his brother both played in college. He is a big guy, and he's not somebody to be messed with. Needless to say, in this fight that broke out after this guy didn't want to get arrested, obviously, Ryan had to defend himself, and he was able to keep this guy from doing any more damage than he already did. Now, here's where it gets very interesting. They did warrant checks, and this guy is a fugitive in 3 states, from Florida, Virginia, and also the state of Pennsylvania. 3 massive warrants for this guy's arrest to bring him in, and all of the warrants that were put out for his arrest were for high value. There was a high $750,000 theft in one of the cases, and they were also holding for fingerprinting as well of this guy. So he was originally sent to the Hudson County Jail in South Kearny. There will be charges, of course, in Kearny as well, but there are 3 states that want him as well. So we'll see where he winds up going. But again, just harking back one more time, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, to these license plate readers, which are just incredible tools that the Kearny Police Department has in place, and so many of the departments in the area have in place right now to fight crime. This is a guy who, if those plate readers didn't exist, came up from Maryland and Delaware, was in Kearny. God knows what he's going to do when he gets here. Maybe he's coming here to cause more crime or to wreak more havoc on another community. But instead, because the town made that investment in these license plate readers, which are not cheap, by the way, then you have these kind of results. These are the types of things that you can't just do on a foot patrol or on a patrol around the neighborhood. Having these computers is as good a deterrent to crime as you're going to find. So great job by Ryan Stickno for taking this guy down, bringing him into custody without much further incident. And the bottom line is today, because of that technology, this guy who is a fugitive in 3 states is now off the streets, and he's not going to wreak any more havoc on our communities. So that's where we stand with that. Now, this is just a reminder because it's coming up next week. The leaves will be collected in the town of Kearny. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to remind everybody in case. You cannot put your leaves out onto the curbs anymore. You just cannot do that anymore. They have a new system for the last couple of years where everything has to be placed, your leaves, in biodegradable bags. You can buy them from DPW, or if you want to go, you can get them at Walgreens, you can get them at Home Depot or Lowe's or some of the bigger hardware stores and things of that nature. But if you look at the screen, this is what the regulations are that need to be followed in order for you to dispose of your leaves. It begins on November 3rd. They have to be in bags. And if you have questions, call Kevin Murphy over at the Department of Public Works. He's at 201-998-3700. 201-998-3700. Now, when this first got into effect, some people would complain that it was so much easier when you just had to put the leaves on the curb, but this is more environmentally friendly. And the truth of the matter is, I think the DPW and Kevin would agree that this system has really worked out very, very well. And that starts on November the 3rd already. It's amazing how quickly we got to this point. It seems like we were just in the summer months, but here we are picking up leaves. All right, let me just go into the chat room for a minute before I move on. Melanie Ryan is here with us. Phil Dressner is also here. Phil, I'm sure you can hear me now. I had the mute button on before. I apologize. My good buddy Bill Scarterfield is here. It's probably a lot colder here than where he is out in Arizona. Billy, good to see you, buddy. Kim Ventoso is here with us. Good afternoon, Kim. And, of course, my birthday sister, Carol Manley, is with us. Hello, dear. And Lisa is about 20 feet away in the office on her laptop watching us from the other side of the room. So good afternoon to all of you who are here. And as I say every week, to all of the people who are in the background who are watching us from all over the place, but not necessarily speaking in the chat room. I know you're here. Thank you very, very much. Phil's in Parsippany. I would imagine, Phil, did you have some connection to Kearny at some point? I can't imagine you don't. Most people do when they come to this program. So let us know in the chat room if you had some connection to Kearny at some point. If you went to Kearny High, what year you graduated, and things of that nature. It's always good to meet people who have left but still keep in touch with their old community. So let me get this off the screen. And I'm going to bring up this week's edition of the newspaper. Now, I want to tell you about Mike Perrone. If you've not heard me speak of Mike Perrone, he is the president of the Belleville Historical Society, and he's been doing this for as long as I can remember. I met Mike back in 2006 when I was working at World Community Newspapers, and I've known him ever since. Actually, it was 2005, and I've known Mike for 20 years now, and he's done so much to keep the history of our neck of the woods alive, especially in Belleville. But he was here last week. He presented us with this flag that you see Lisa holding, and it was a flag that flew over Fort McHenry in Baltimore in September. I got to be honest with you, this is an incredible honor for our office that Mike presented it to us for the work that we've done with the Belleville Historical Society over the years. But it flew in the very same spot, in the very spot that the flag that flew when Francis Scott Key wrote "The Star Spangled Banner Flew" in Baltimore. This was during the War of 1812. Key was locked up and on a ship, and he was amazed with all the bombing that was going on in that area of Baltimore Harbor, that the flag was still there after all of that. And it is just a remarkable honor for us to have it here in the office. But when you think about that history, Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner in the middle of an utter amount of chaos. The War of 1812, I am ignorant on the War of 1812, but Mike told us an incredible story that after the American Revolution, the United States had about 10,000 people in the Army. Can you imagine that? How small that was. And the United Kingdom decided that it wanted to take the colonies back from America, thus leading to the War of 1812, which caused the White House to burn and all sorts of chaos. But that day was remarkable because Key was there and he was being held prison on a ship. And after all the bombing that had gone on between the British and the Americans, the flag was still there, and that's how it got those lyrics. It was actually a poem at first that was actually made into the national anthem that Key had written. And when Mike Perrone comes in, you always wind up with an incredible history lesson. But this time, we walked away with one of the greatest gifts you could ask for, that flag was flying in the very same spot that Francis Scott Key looked when he wrote the lyrics to the Star Spangled Banner. So thank you, Mike. In the picture with Lisa and Mike is Val Hadnishaw. He is a resident of North Arlington, and he is a longtime member of the Belleville Historical Society as well. Two great people who I admire and always have. And you know that if you ever see some of the monuments in the town of Kearny, whenever they get cleaned up, it's because of Mike and Val. They go around to all different locations, clean gravestones, and they also clean monuments. They did the one at Schuyler and Bergen a couple of years ago. They've done all of the memorials in Kearny at some point, I would imagine. And if not, they'll be done again. And he's done the Christopher Columbus Monument a couple of times. So we thank you, Mike. We appreciate what you've done for us and for the great present that you gave us indeed. Now, a couple of other things on this week's front page. Harrison High School, victim of 2 swatting incidents last week. You know about that. We talked about that last week. Police Chief Stanley Titterington is working on the case with an outside agency, and arrests will be made in these cases. So it is good to see that they are working diligently to bring to justice whoever did this. I mean, it was just 2 days 2 days in between the two incidents. And it's a shame because, parents were panicking. I mean, it's just a horrible thing swatting is. And I don't know how it ever started, but somehow it continues to this day. But luckily, there were no incidents that were real in this particular case at these two cases at Harrison High School. Now, as you know, the elections are next week locally. We haven't talked much about them. It's been a very interesting election cycle, to say the very least. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it. However, we have some profiles that are in this week's newspaper. We had a call to action in the paper on the 15th of October. We got responses from the Kearny Democrats and the North Arlington Republicans. Some people have told us that wasn't enough notice. Too bad. That's just the way it is and how we did it this year. And here's something else we want you to know, too. We have not been able to do an opinion page in the last couple of weeks for space constraints. But some people have sent us some notes about the election that we would normally probably not have published in print anyway. But what we're going to do, because of the space constraints and not being able to do this, we're going to place any letters that candidates or their supporters send to us online at www.theobserver.com. We have a couple already in the queue ready to go, and they will be published later today. But if you are a candidate or if you're a supporter of a candidate and you wish to write a letter on behalf of any of the candidates who are running, we don't care if it's a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, no matter what it is, we will take those letters and place them on theobserver.com. So send them to editorial at theobserver.com. That's where you'll be able to make sure we get them. On local races, too. We're not talking about anything that has to do with Washington, D.C. or anything like that, but the local races. Send those letters and we'll publish them as soon as we get them and copy edit them right there after. Okay, so how's that? All right, now, don't forget, Jason Bernstein has a couple of pages of sports in the back of the book, and Lisa has 2 pages of classified. So if you're looking for an apartment or a place to rent, there's a couple of lots of apartments this week that are available, all available at, I'm sure, very, very reasonable prices because of the real estate market around here. Everything is so reasonably priced. Check them out in the back of the book. And here he is, Mayor Dan Pronti, one of the mayor of North Arlington. He says he's late, but he's here. It doesn't matter. There's no specific time. You must be here, Mayor. Thank you for popping in very, very much. And we are always grateful to see you. And I just want to double check. My dear friend Maria Almeida is here too. I didn't realize that. Maria, I hope you're still here. If you are, I miss you and love you and hope everything is going well and hope to see you at the Senior Center very, very soon. But Mayor Pronti, thank you for popping by nonetheless. To everybody who is watching, thank you for joining us today. We will be back in a week. And then on Election Day, next week on Tuesday, we will have coverage for you when we get results. We will join you live. I'm not sure from where at this point, but we will join you live at some point on Tuesday night once we know who the winners are in the election in Kearny and in North Arlington, and hopefully maybe we can get some of the candidates or the winners on the air with us on Tuesday night, but that probably won't happen until after 9 p.m. But we will be back a week from today as well. Actually, maybe we might postpone the Observer Live until the evening time. So keep us in. We'll keep a lookout on our website and social media. We'll let you know how we decide that we're going to handle things depending on how the election goes and how late it is. We want to make sure that we get all the information out to all of you. From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now. And we hope to see you back here again very soon, very, very soon. Thank you all for joining us. See you later. Bye-bye.